Welcome to this AQA GCSE Geography Revision Blast. Today we are focusing on sustainable urban environments, which is part of the Urban Issues and Challenges unit on Paper 2. We're going to start proceedings today with a categorised activity. On the screen you have 8 either inputs or outputs, things that either go into a city or things that come out of the city. You've got a minute to pop them in the right category. Off we go. Okay, well done. Let's have a look and see if you've got those correct. So in terms of inputs, the city we have food, water, energy and building materials. And when we're thinking about sustainable urban environments, we want those to be as sustainable as possible. So we are trying to reduce water wastage, for example. We're trying to make sure that our energy supply is as sustainable as it possibly can be. So perhaps building on renewable energies. We want our building materials to be sustainable. So for example, we might try and use recycled wood. In terms of city outputs, we've got waste, sewage, air pollution and water pollution. So in terms of sustainable environments, then we're thinking about how we can reduce all of those, how we can make those as sustainable as possible as well. Right, we're going to move on to an altered vowels activity. So the altered vowels activity is looking at segments of the Eagan wheel framework for sustainable communities. Now this is a wheel that is divided up into 8 different sections, and these are the things that we would expect to see in a sustainable community. Okay, now in this round, each of the vowels in each word has been changed to a different vowel. So you need to work out what the section is. So this is our first one. Leave it up on the screen for a moment. So remember, it's not an anagram, it's just the vowels have been changed. Okay, let's have a look. It is the economy. So in a sustainable environment, we would expect to see the area thriving. So is the economy thriving? That's an important part of sustainable development. Right, number 2. Okay, just leave this one up for a moment. Okay, have we worked it out? It is equity. So is the area fair for everybody there? Right, number 3. Can you recognise this one? So this is a massive concept in geography, particularly in terms of sustainability. So let's have a look at what it is. It is the environment. So in the sustainable environment, is the area environmentally sensitive? That's really important. Right, number 4. Okay, have we recognised this one? So this is services. So is the area well served? For example, is there good access to healthcare? Is there access to education? Are there local shops? These are really important in planning a sustainable community. Okay, so this one I think looks a little bit easier. Well, certainly the first word. Have you managed to work it out? Let's reveal. It is transport and connectivity. So is the area well connected? So with sustainable urban environments, we're trying to minimise the use of car use. And you can't really do that unless it is connected by a good public transport system. So that's obviously a key part of a sustainable urban environment. Right, number 6. Okay, we recognise this one. Let's have a look. It is governance. So how the area is run. Is it run well? Okay, number 7. Okay, have we got this one? Let's have a look. It is social and cultural. So does the area feel active? Is it inclusive? Is it safe? That's a good part of social and cultural. We've got one last one. What do we think? Now, we have already seen one of these words in one of the previous altered vowels. Okay, let's have a look. It is houses and the built environment. So is the area well designed and built? That's obviously really important because you want the area to be lasting. You don't want to build this sustainable community where the building is like really shoddy and therefore, a couple of years in, the developers are back trying to repair everything because they did such a bad job the last time. Right, let's move on to a give me a 4. So we are going to give you 30 seconds to come up with 4 ways to make urban transport more sustainable. So you might want a pen and paper at the ready if you haven't already got that with you. So off we go. Okay, did you manage to come up with 4? So let's have a look at what you could have said. So 4 ways to make urban transport more sustainable. So we've got at the top integrated transport systems. So for example, your rapid transit buses, your tram networks, your trains, etc. that all link up. So a really good example of that would be the Transport for London system, where you've got like the London Underground, you've also got the Overground, you've got the city buses, all sorts of things working there. A network of charging points for electric vehicles. We've got park and ride schemes around the city and making cycling safer. So for example, a network of cycle routes on and off road and also 20-mile-an-hour limits on busy roads so cyclists feel safer. Therefore, that will encourage more cycling. Right, let's do another one. This time we're looking at the benefits of cycling in UK cities. So 30 seconds to come up with 4 benefits of cycling in UK cities. Okay, let's have a look. So again, we asked you to give us 4 benefits of cycling in UK cities. So firstly, it's much cheaper than running a car, and that's becoming increasingly important with the cost of living crisis. It is a good form of daily exercise, so you get your physical health benefits. It's also really good for your own mental health, so it lowers your stress levels, and it reduces CO2 emissions and therefore air pollution. So that is really important in some of our most polluted cities. Right, we're going to move on to a game of countdown now. So this time, the letters of each of the key features of sustainable development have been rearranged. So you just need to solve the conundrums. You will have 30 seconds each time, and we have 5 to do. So these are things that we would expect to see in a sustainable development. So let's do our first one. Off we go. Okay, did you get this one? So it is apartments. Now, apartments are really important because they actually are much more energy efficient than detached houses. So they benefit from having sort of heating systems from the houses above and below, but they also benefit from having those shared walls. They tend to be very well insulated as well. So therefore, like, your energy bills are a lot lower, and they waste a lot less energy. Okay, let's move on to our second. Okay, let's see if you got this one right. It is public transport. Okay, we talked a moment ago about how it's really important to minimise car use. So having good public transport features, for example, cycle paths, local bus stops, is really important. Right, let's move on to number 3. Okay, have you got this one? It is green open spaces. So really important in sustainable urban developments, particularly as lots of people won't have access to their own garden. So by having the community open spaces is really important. It promotes mental health, it promotes obviously physical well-being. It's a place where people can actually get together. And obviously green spaces also absorb CO2 and reduce the risk of flooding. So all very important. Right, number 4. Okay, hopefully you've got this one. It is green roofs. So really important again in sustainable urban developments. They are good for habitats. They are good for collecting water that can then be recycled and used for flushing toilets, for example. They are good for reducing the risk of flooding, and they filter out air pollution as well. So lots of benefits there. Let's do our final one. Okay, so quite a tricky one to end. Let's have a look. It is affordable housing. So as part of all sustainable housing development, there has to be a certain percentage that are affordable. So this is incredibly important. If we think about a city like London, where there is a real housing crisis and houses are incredibly expensive, some people are actually spending £300,000 or £400,000 on a one-bedroom apartment. So by ensuring that some of the houses are affordable, it does mean that people perhaps on slightly lower incomes are able to access that housing as well. Right, let's move on to a Mend the Gap activity. So one of the key features of sustainable urban environments is that the developments use less water and energy. But how do they do that? Okay, we're going to do a Mend the Gap activity. So you just need to complete the text provided by adding the missing words. So let's have a look at that text. So sustainable urban developments tend to use around something the water than the average urban area. This is because something water, ponds naturally filter and clean rainwater before recycling it to use for flushing toilets and something plants. Drinking water is a separate system. They also use much less energy. Many sustainable developments use combined heat and something systems, which are efficient as they generate electricity and produce heat from the same source. But these systems are something as the hot water loses heat quickly as it is piped underground. So you've got 5 missing words there. The number of dashes signifies the number of letters for each one. So if you can pause the video for a moment, try and work out what they are, and then we will reveal. So if you haven't paused the video, please do, because we are just about to reveal what those missing words are. So let's have a look. So they use around half the water, and this is because they recycle water. So we talked about that idea of recycling. So ponds naturally filter and clear rainwater before recycling it to use for flushing toilets and for watering plants. Drinking water is a separate system. They also use much less energy. Many sustainable developments use combined heat and power systems, which are efficient as they generate electricity and produce heat from the same source. But these systems are small scale as the hot water loses heat quickly as it is piped underground. Right, our next activity is going to have a look at the combined heat and power systems in a bit more detail. The Scramble Sentence activity is looking at you to explain how combined heat and power worked. So on the screen we have 5 statements that do explain how the system works, but they're not in the correct order. So you need to read through them, you need to think about how the system might work, and then you need to pop them in the correct order. Once you're happy with your order, then unpause the video and we will check through. So if you haven't paused the video, please do so, because we are about to reveal the correct order. Okay, let's reveal. So combined heat and power stations generate electricity by burning biomass as a fossil fuel. As they generate electricity, the heat given off is used to heat water. This hot water is then piped underground around the sustainable development. The heat is transferred to a hot water system in each block of apartments. This means that none of the buildings need their own boiler. The water will cool down slowly before being piped back to the combined heat and power station. So well done if you got those correct. Okay, so we're going to end this session with a bubble quiz. So with a bubble quiz, the number of answers that are correct can range from 0 to all 4. You just need to identify which ones are correct. So question number 1, which of these feature on the framework for sustainable communities? Is it being well connected, being well served, being active, inclusive and safe, and being well designed and built? So which of these feature on the framework for sustainable communities? Okay, let's reveal the answer. It is all of them. So we did that in our Eagan wheel activity earlier when we were looking at altered vowels. Okay, number 2. Which of these features of building design reduces carbon emissions? Being well insulated, south-facing windows, affordable housing, or solar panels on the roof? So which of these features of building designs reduce carbon emissions? Okay, are we ready? It is A, B and D. So being well insulated, south-facing windows that make the most of the sun, and the solar panels on the roof. Affordable housing is not a feature of building design. What services would we expect to see in a sustainable community? So recycling facilities, public transport network, multi-storey car parks, plenty of green space. So which services would we expect to see in a sustainable community? Let's have a look. So we've got our recycling facilities, the public transport network, and plenty of green space. Now, obviously, we don't want multi-storey car parks because they encourage car usage. Number 4. Which of these are not sustainable transport solutions? Cycle path networks, cheaper parking, a new airport to improve transport links, and car share schemes. So which of these are not sustainable transport solutions? Okay, let's have a look. It is cheaper parking and a new airport to improve transport links. So obviously both of those would be bad news for the environment. Finally, which of these are sustainable transport solutions? 20-mile-an-hour zones in residential areas, upgrading to hybrid buses, a network of electric charging points, and making all new cars cheaper. So which of these are sustainable transport solutions? Let's have a look. It is A, B, and C. So having the 20-mile-an-hour zones is obviously makes it safer. Upgrading to hybrid buses means less CO2 emissions. Same with the electric charging points. Now, in terms of social sustainability, making all new cars cheaper is a good thing, but in terms of the environment, is not a good thing at all. Right, well done for getting to the end of the revision blast. So we've covered lots of different aspects of this unit of work through a variety of activities to test your recall and your understanding. Please have a look at the playlist because we have got lots of revision blasts in place covering the entire specification for AQA, and just leaves me to wish you the best of luck in those upcoming exams.